question for you. Let's say we're out there in the shop working and we finish something 1/100th of a second faster. In the shop, is that going to make a huge difference being 100th of a second faster? Maybe, probably not that much 100th of a second. But everything counts. And here's why. In February, I'm about to embarrass myself a little bit. I'm a NASCAR fan, okay? So, yeah, I live in Virginia. I'm below the Mason-Dixon. I like the South. We have 2 races in Virginia. It's actually 3 races in Virginia every year. So I'm kind of a NASCAR fan. And in February, every year, at the beginning of the year, Daytona is the first race of the year. This year, a guy named Denny Hamlin won. And he won by 100th of a second. They raced for 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 47 seconds. So the starting flag dropped, and 3 hours and 10 minutes later, they drove left. For 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 47 seconds. And at that point, Denny Hamlin crossed the finish line. And whoever was second. We never remember who's second. Why not? Because they're losers! Not only were they losers, they're the best loser ever.
Yeah.
I lost faster than anybody else. The prize money at Daytona is about $1.5 million.
Wow.
Second place is about $1 million. Denny Hamlin crossed the finish line, and 1/100th of a second later, somebody else crossed the finish line. And Denny Hamlin made $500,000 more.
Wow.
We don't know who on his team was responsible for that. Was it the jackman who got his car up a little bit quicker when he came in to change the tires? Was it the guy who puts the lug nuts on? Was it the guy who puts the fuel in? Was it his spotter who told him to drift down the lane quicker? We don't know who on the team helped him win that $500,000. But we know it was the whole team. If the jackman had been slower, if the spotter had said stay high instead of go low, if he hadn't told him about another car coming up on his side. We don't know, but when we're a team, everything depends on team. On Thursday night, there was a game. Last Thursday night, what game was that?
Cavaliers.
Yeah, Cavaliers and
Golden State.
Golden State. Who won?
Golden State.
Golden State won. They won both of them, but they won the first one by 15 points. They won the second one by like 32 points.
Yeah.
They won the first game by 15 points. Now, who's the 2 stars on the Golden State?
Curry and Thompson. Yeah.
Curry and Thompson. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. They are the highest scoring duo of anybody in the league this year. Curry and Thompson averaged 52 points per game. Cleveland, in Cleveland, you've got James and, who's his backup?
Kyrie.
Yeah, James and Kyrie. They were averaging about 46, 47 points, so pretty dang close. This is the same 2 teams that met last year in the playoffs. The first game of the season, does anybody know about how much Curry and Thompson scored together? Remember, they're averaging 51 to 52 points a game.
I'm not sure.
21.
I was going to say 20, yeah.
Curry and Thompson together scored 21 points in the first game. They stunk. They just couldn't get going. Neither one of them, Curry didn't hit anything until like second quarter. You know, he just airballs and he was having an off day. And they still won by 15 points. Why?
Their team stunk too?
No.
It's not worse,
though.
The rest of the team stepped up.
Yeah.
Sean Livingston scored 20 points. He's never scored 20 points in a postseason game in his life. He's 13 years in the league, and he's never scored 20 points in a postseason game. But he stepped up. Green stepped up. Iguodala was a monster on the other end. He was blocking and stealing, and it did because their stars were off. The challenge is on some teams, oh, these guys aren't working hard, so I'm not going to work hard. The Cavaliers would have won game 1 and taken the advantage and taken the shift of the home team advantage if they had taken game 1. It sets the tone. Most series are won by the game 1 winner. It would have shifted momentum, would have shifted all kinds of things. But when the other team members saw that Klay and Steph were struggling, they stepped up. They played some of the best games, literally. Livingston's the best game of his life. Life is a team sport. There's very, very, very few things we do when we're on our own. And we have to realize that every single thing that we do. So sometimes you guys are the jack man, sometimes you guys are the wheel man, sometimes you're the guy who comes in off of the bench. The bench in Golden State outscored Cleveland's bench 45-10.
Yep.
45-10 was the difference between the bench. Their starters couldn't get going, so they brought in some backups. Realize that everything that we do here, every touch, every time we see a client, every time we weld something, every time we pick up a piece of metal, what can we do? That's a lot of what the lean is. You know, Eric's been working with you guys on lean. I was thinking about, how can we do this? How can I save a step? How can I save a minute today? How can I save 30 seconds today? These are all pieces. These are all pieces that we have in place. So the whole principle we're going to be talking about today is winning edge strategy. And the point is, you guys are on the track. It's not like you guys are dirt track racers and you're not very good. The company's been in business for what, 30, 40 years. We have a nice client base. We have some nice equipment. We've got a system put in place. You guys are the pros. You're on the track. And the question is, how can we do something today that will get us across that finish line? How can we be the one who steps up and make sure if our superstars, let's say sales drops the ball, how's production going to pick it up? Let's say production has a challenge, somebody's sick or somebody doesn't come in or something happens, a machine goes down, how's sales going to step up? What are we going to do? Are we going to be communicating? What piece of the ball are we going to pick up? There is one department at Schaumburg Specialty. One department. Who's that department? What is that department?
Production.
No? There's one department.
Everyone?
One department.
Company?
Customer service. There is one reason we exist, and that's to take care of our customers. And the last one is to be happy. And be happy just doesn't mean we're necessarily satisfied. It's okay to want a nicer car, a bigger home. It's okay to want to earn more income, to have nicer things, to do things for your family. In fact, it's a good thing. But don't be happy when that happens. Most people are, when I get a raise, I'll be happy. When I get a new car, I'll be happy. When I get a bigger house, I'll be happy. I'm reminded of a story, a guy standing there pumping gas. Guy pulls up on the other side of the gas pump and says, "Hey, you live here?" He says, "Yep, I've lived around here my whole life." He says, "How are people around here?" He goes, "Well, I've asked you a question. How are people where you live now?" "Nah, they're all a bunch of jerks." Well, that's about how they'll be here. If you can't be happy here, you'll go to your next job, and you'll be happy for about a week, and then you'll be unhappy there, then you go to your next job, and you'll be unhappy there. The reality is, we pay decent, nice people to work for, they have some flexibility. I read a lot of your things, what is good, they treat us well, they treat us like family. Would all of us like to make more? Absolutely. The business would like to turn more profit. We'd like to have more money for bonus structures. We'd like to have more money for a lot of things. All that comes from customer satisfaction, from repeat orders, from profitability, and all of that's in place. We listened to everything that you guys said. We absolutely want to make this an amazing place to work. So when you're here, be happy. Because the reality is, Abraham Lincoln said, you're about as happy as you choose to be. Because when you get that new car, it's going to make you happy for a month or 2 months, and it's going to be a car. When you get that raise, it's $1 raise, and then a month or two later, you want another one, you're not happy again. And when you get that meal, and when you get that person in your life, and when you get that house, and when you get that, I'll be happy when. No, you won't. If you're not happy here, and then something changes, you won't be happy. There's an amazing study that was done at Harvard. They have a test called the happiness factor that they give to people. It says, how satisfied are you with this, and all of these, and they actually give it a point of happiness. Now let me ask you, who do you think is going to be happier? Somebody who wins the lottery, $100 million, or somebody who's in an accident and becomes a paraplegic? A year later, they had almost the exact same happiness. They interviewed 10 lottery winners and 10 paraplegics, people who had been in auto accidents and lost the use of their legs. And their happiness was almost identical scores. Because you're as happy as you're going to be. You decide to be happy. Things happen. Every day, something happens that I wish didn't happen. Some days I get a flat tire. Some days I get a traffic ticket. Some days my flight gets delayed. Some days my flight gets canceled. and I, have to try to get to a hotel, and sometimes I miss a coaching client a day because my flights were canceled because of weather, and I have to try to reschedule, and it cost me a bunch of money, and stuff happens, so what? It's part of life. If I know it's going to happen, I just have to say, I'm happy.